Clarity run a quick tutorial on making active and passive rigid bodies and using forces. We're going to make a simple marble bounce down and then we might make it shatter. We'll see how time gets on. So I like to work pretty quickly with these things. The idea of the tutorials aren't to make you able to generate something in particular. It's more about getting you aware of where the tools are and how to use them, and then you can apply them creatively how you want. So I've made a polyplane here using the shelf there. I'm dragging that out, and before I go any further, I'm going to duplicate that. I'm not going to subdivide it at all. I don't need any subdivisions in it. It's not going to be a complex shape. I'll pull that one out, rotate that slightly in that direction, and rotate this one in this direction. That's going to make our bouncing ball area there. Just going to move that up a little bit now, and hopefully we can get a ball bouncing on that. So I'm going to go straight up here again. I'm going to use a polygon ball here. Ooh, let's just get that so we can click on there, not too big, and move that up. You'll notice I'm using the arrow here. I'm not using the center so that I know it's going directly up, so it's staying on that plane. And this way I know that it's going to bounce down 1, 2, and then off down here somewhere, hopefully. So if I click play now, obviously I've only got 24 frames in the scene, so click play now, nothing's going to happen. I've just positioned the objects, I haven't got any animation on it yet. So I'm just going to change this to maybe 300 frames, so I've got plenty of frames to be playing around with. That was just typing it in and pressing enter. And then I'm ready to start adding some forces. So this is the first time we're going to go up to the top, and in this case we're going to be inside dynamics menu set, and then you're going to go to fields and you've got gravity. If you go to the options, you can change some of the basic options here. All these can be changed afterwards as well. I'll show you that in a second. Magnitude of 9.8 is what gravity is. So we leave that as it is, and then there's all sorts of other things you can play around with in here if you wish to, and feel free to explore. You can't break it, you can always undo, and it's a really good idea to have a play around with this sort of thing in a basic scene like we've got here, rather than going straight for putting it into something complex where you might have difficulties with the number of vertex you've got and memory running out and all sorts of other things. So playing around with it in a safe environment is a good idea. Let's create that. So you can see it's created a rigid body of this automatically, so we should see, there we go, it's going to go straight through there. Now what it did when I made that force was it automatically made that into an active rigid body. If I go and have a look inside here, down here it says rigid body 1, and down right down this list, this is in channel bar, we've got active on. Okay, and that you can play around with this as well. You have to play around with all these different things about this rigid body and do it. Now what we want it to do is hit these things, so we need to tell the computer, you know what, I want those to be rigid bodies as well, but I don't want them to go flying off down with gravity. So I don't want to create an active rigid body, I want to create a passive rigid body. And again, I've got the options there if I want to. I'm just going to click passive, and I'm just going to double check in here. There's my rigid body 3. I'm just going to go and check at the collision layer. Now that's on 0 at the moment. Let's just check on this one. Yep, that's on 0 as well. So if I play that through, there you go. I'm just going to check that's playing every frame. Yes, it is. So that button down here for the options there. Okay, just checking it's playing every frame. If it doesn't play every frame, sometimes the animation go wrong. You see the computer speeds up as it can play it quickly when it works out where it's supposed to go. Now if I just change this one here, let's just go down and change that collision layer, and hopefully you'll guess what this is going to do. So that's on 1 now, and the other one's on 0. Let's see what happens. Okay, so it passes straight through it. So you've got to make sure that your objects are on the same collision layer, and it's often a problem that I find students get, is when they don't realise that it's on a different collision layer, and so the ball doesn't hit it exactly right. It goes straight through. So here we go. We've got our bouncing ball to active passive rigid body. You can see I can change the bounciness of the surface. I can change the bounciness of the ball, dampening. You can really have fun playing around with this stuff. Let's just stick that up to 1, and you can see what the difference is there. Okay, so much more bouncy. So we can have some real fun playing around with this if we want to. I'm just going to turn that down quite a lot. So let's say 0.4. And see if that just stops that double bounce happening as it goes down. Yeah, perfect. So we've got this bouncing down. Okay, and it's not playing it back real time. It's playing back every frame as fast as it can when I click the playback button. Okay, So that was pretty simple. Moving straight on then, let's generate this so that we've got a ball that shatters, and then we're going to leave it there. So I'm going to use, it's another problem that students have quite like. They say, oh, actually, I want to finish this animation with something breaking apart, or I want to make an explosion with this object and break it apart. So there is actually a really quick and easy way to do it. So let's just play this through until it's just about to hit the second thing here, and that's where we're going to have it breaking. Now I'm just going to stick a keyframe on that so that it knows that it's visible until that frame there. So just down here in P-Sphere 1, I've got visibility set to on, okay, with a ball selected. I'm going to stick a 0 in there, press return, and it's going to switch it off. And key select, key selected. Okay, that one goes red. So that was right click on the word itself, key selected. Okay, and then I'm going to hop back just by one frame using the step back there, and I'm going to type a 1 in, switch that visibility on, and I'm going to go key selected. Before I go any further, what I want to do is take that ball from there and duplicate it. So I'm just going to pick that up, press Control and D, that duplicates the ball. So the next frame, it looks like it's still there, but actually it's the other one switching off and the other one still being there. Okay, so hopefully we can see that disappearing. Let's go back to the correct frame. Oh, hello. There it is. So I'll just go back to the last keyframe, and this enables me to then switch this visibility of this on this frame. So I'm going to go to P-Sphere 2, select P-Sphere 2. It's important to have this open when you're working with things that are directly over the top of each other. This is your outliner, and if you want to get these panels open, you can go to Saved Layouts, and you'll go Perspective and Outliner is what I've got open at the moment. So I can easily select that, and I'll just switch that visibility off. So I'm going to go to 0, and that will switch that visibility off, and actually I want that on at the moment, so I'm going to go 1. Ooh, missed it. Let's try that again. I pressed 2 instead by mistake. There we go, and I go key selected, right click that is, on the word visibility, and then I'm going to step back by one frame, and in this frame I'm going to switch that off. 0, enter, click, right click, key selected. Okay, so that goes pop, so it swaps over. So I'm just going to push that forward, jump it back to the last keyframe. So I've got that P-Sphere 2 selected, and it's visible on the correct frame. Now what I want to do is shatter that. Now before I can shatter it, I have to remember that I'm going to need to delete the history. If you've got the history undeleted, it will not shatter for you. Okay, so you need to go up to Edit, go down to Delete by Type, History, and that will get rid of the history of the object for you. Okay, so you won't have any, there'll be very little showing in this of the actions that you've done, okay, in the attribute editor and the channel bar. And what that means is it's ready now to be shattered. So let's go up here, and it's in effects. You see you've got loads of stuff you can play around with in here, and do feel free to explore. But we're going to use the create shatter. I'm going to go in the options for that. You can see you've got different kinds of shatter. You can have a surface shatter, which will give you kind of the surface. It's a hollow ball, and you can set the thickness in there as to how thick it is, and how many shards you've got. So you can play around with that if you want. We're going to use a solid shatter, and you've got a crack shatter as well. So you can play around with these. There's loads of options here. I'm not going to talk you through them now. It's going to take far too long. So what we've got happening here is I've got it already selected to, I want to make it a rigid body because I want a force to affect it in a second. So just like we did before with the other ball. And I want collisions off. And that's really important, collisions off. If you've got a solid ball and you've got shapes that are right next to each other and a force starts affecting them, chances are it's going to push some of those shapes into the other shapes. And the computer's not going to work out how that's bouncing off each other. Instead, it's just going to overlap slightly. It's going to give you an error, and the shapes will kind of stick together. So you want to make sure that collisions are off. You can see there's not an option to have them switched on. But if you, for example, made shapes and then made them rigid bodies afterwards, collisions would be on. And if that was the case, then you'd have an error happening straight away. And you'd be thinking, what's that about? So use this option, rigid bodies with collisions off is great. And then the shards we can reduce or increase as you want. So I'm just going to reduce it right down to save my processing speed, because I'm on a fairly rubbish laptop at the moment. Loads of other options in here you can play around with, whether you want to hide the original, yes we do, or whether you want to link it to the shards, or whether you want to do nothing with the original. So you can play around with this as much as you like, and we could change how jagged the edges are. That's quite nice. You've got seed value in there as well, and keeping that low is a good idea if you don't need it high. And we'll leave it like that. So I'm going to click create, and with a little bit of luck we'll have a ball that is shattered. Yeah, I can see a crack going past that, and over here I've got this now solid shatter 1, and inside there I've got my 4 shards, which I can select if I want to. With those shards selected, I'm going to start applying a force to it. So we're not going to play anything back. At the moment it wouldn't move, nothing would happen. They're not connected to the gravity that we had before, so nothing would happen if I press play. So selecting the shards, I'm going to go and I'm going to select a different kind of field this time. I'm going to select a radial field. I'm not going to do much to it. I'm just going to tell it that I want, it's already done, magnitude of 0 to begin with. I'll leave it named as try. So I'm going to go create. So that magnitude is on 0, and here it is over here. And I need to move that to right place so the force is pushing it away from the right part. So that will do, just about. And before I go anywhere, I'm going to keyframe on this frame that magnitude. So I'm going to go into the channel bar here and look for magnitude. There it is. Click on that, right click, key selected. Right, so that's 0. Then a couple of frames later, I want that to be right up at maybe 30. Okay, so quite a large magnitude. And key selected. And then later on, not too much later on, I want that to, you can see they're already moving. I want to reduce that right the way down. I've got a visible ball there. I'll have to sort that out in a minute. I'll reduce that right the way down, so 0. Key selected. Okay. Alright, so something's gone wrong here, Bosh, because I haven't switched off the visibility. You can see the visibility of my original ball is switched on. So let's just go to this object. What is that? Excuse me a second. Yes, P-sphere 1. Okay, so that says visibility is on there. Should go off. It's not. It's keyframe. It's keyframed off there. So that one is P-sphere 2, and that says it's on there, and we want that off. So there we go. Solved that problem. And I'll just key select that. Key selected. So it might be a bit bumpy, but for now we're sorted. Okay, so I'm not going to worry about the little bit of mess that I've got going on here. Boing. Lovely. So it's pretty much working for us now. And there's our shards starting to fly away. Now what I want to do is I'm going to select those shards again. I'm just going to apply a gravity field to this. I could connect it up with the original one, but I don't want to, because I want that gravity field again. I want that magnitude to be 0 to begin with. Bosh. And I'm just going to create that gravity field. Doesn't matter where the gravity field is, because it affects uniformly across the thing. Right click. Let's move that back a little bit. Just to about there. And we'll just key select that at 0. And then I'm going to move it out to about here. And then I want gravity to start affecting it. Doesn't matter if it's a bit more than usual. So let's key select that and make the objects seem heavier than they actually are. And you can see that lovely curve, and you will have noticed that these objects, these shards, are passing through. So that one shard is passing through. That's not very desirable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that shard. Ooh, let's just see if we can. There we go. I'm going to select that shard there, which is going to pass through. You can see that one's going to pass through as well. Should I go through this? No, actually I'm going to leave it there, because if I go into this it's going to take a little bit of time with keyframing. So I'm going to stop there. But basically what I was going to do is select those shards, and I was going to turn the collisions on. So I was going to go down here, I was going to turn the collisions on down here. Collisions are switched off at the moment, and turn them on, but I'm going to keyframe that coming on when they're already quite far away apart, so they're not going to overlap each other, and that'll stop that error that I was talking about before. I'm not going to go into that because I want to finish that tutorial there, otherwise it gets a bit long. If I've moved too quickly, go back, pause it, have another go. I hope that's been interesting and informal for you, and I'll get back to you soon. This has been Clarity Design. Catch you later.